Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Jordan Simone Show. We figured out how to talk over music instead of waiting until the music intro went by. We are so back. I'm Jordan Simone. With me as always, my boy Joey Artigue.
How we doing? How about this music?
Should we turn it up for a second? This is AI. This is AI. This is full AI right here. Ready? Bob your head. That's right. Feel the beat. Feel it in your bones. All right, should we talk about this absolute disaster this weekend? ASU and Utah up in Salt Lake City. Good Lord in heaven. That was an ass beating unlike nothing I've seen besides the one 2 years ago when they first went up to Utah with Kenny Dillingham and lost 50-something to 10 instead of 45-10 or whatever the frickin' score was. That was brutal. I turned off the game in the end of the third quarter. I fell asleep and honestly didn't sleep great, didn't feel good. I mean, this whole deal with Leavitt's foot, we're going to talk about Leavitt's foot. We're going to talk about the ASU game. We're going to talk about the picks from last week in college, the picks ahead this weekend, and then buckle up because we're going to talk Texas Tech. And we're not out of it, ladies and gentlemen. We've got some injuries. We're a little bit beat up, but I don't give a shit. We could still win this game. Welcome back to another episode 5 here after the emergency pod last week with Sam's foot. But I just want to talk about Sam Leavitt's foot right now. There's rumors of this basketball game being played and him hurting his ankle doing that. I've heard some other ridiculous rumors. Who knows what's true? I would like to believe that it is just an injury that he's been dealing with. Players get banged up, nicked up all the time in season and don't necessarily have to publicize it. I remember playing one year and I was dealing with some hamstring issues, but it was never once publicized and I never was out of a game because of it, but I very well could have been. So sometimes stuff comes up and Sam's an active runner. He's a cutter. He can make people miss. So I'm not surprised, that the guy's dinged up. But if he did get hurt playing basketball in season, then that's a total moron move. I hope that's not the case. I would like to believe that he's smarter than that. And that he wouldn't, do that to the program, to his teammates, for the fans. There's just so much riding on his health this season. I think if you looked at the beginning of the year, the only thing that could really hurt you was an injury to our quarterback. But I also want to remind everybody, okay, where we were a couple years ago. I mean, not a couple years ago, last year. Everybody lock in. Where we were last year. ASU was 2-2 in the Big 12 to start. Okay? 2-2. We lost to Texas Tech in the beginning of the year. Then we beat Kansas. Then we beat Utah. And then lost to Cincy without Leavitt. We lost to Cincinnati. 2-2. Now here we are sitting at 2-1 in Big 12 play. And Sam is back practicing for Texas Tech this week. So I say all that to go, everybody take a deep breath, okay? I watched the Utah game just like you did. I wasn't happy with it. The defense looked atrocious. In fact, after watching that game, this is exactly how I felt.
We're going to get you another kind of support as well.
You're both going to see therapists. Nancy thinks it'll help. And guys, that's non-negotiable.
Hold on. We're not going on the boat. Derek's selling the house. We have to go to therapy?
What the fuck happened?
Hey, look, I know this.
That is exactly how I felt after watching that game. I mean, Sam Leavitt's
This house is a prison.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's hurt. The team didn't even come off the bus. I mean, that looked like Saguaro High School stepped onto the field to play Utah that night. I mean, it looked like they had never tackled a single player ever before. I mean, what is happening to our football team? Our quarterback's out. I mean, it honestly looked like how Utah was last year. Highly rated preseason, and then Cam Rising gets hurt, and their year just absolutely falls apart. So very similar type feel. It's. I feel bad. I feel bad for our fans, that had high hopes. I feel bad for myself having high hopes to watch that game with Leavitt healthy. But even if Leavitt was healthy, I mean, it probably would have changed how our defense played. But God dang, they look softer than baby shit out there. I mean, they couldn't tackle anybody. Devin Dampier just taking it to the team he grew up close to. He went to Saguaro High School, and he comes in and just absolutely dominates this ASU defense. And Jeff Sims, man, you feel bad for the guy. I mean, such high expectations. Everybody on ASU Twitter, Jeff Sims redemption game. Jeff Sims, here we go. We said it last year before Cincinnati. He couldn't complete a pass, and then he comes out, threw a couple decent passes in that weather, which was horrid, by the way. I've played in a game like that. It's honestly, I loved it. I love playing in weather like that, but it's not great for QBs. But man, we couldn't complete a pass. We just couldn't complete a pass. Couple that with our All-American receiver, Jordan Tyson, trying to make every one-handed catch he can instead of just making the two-handed catch. Make the two-handed catch, man. You're going to go to the NFL because you make two-handed catches, not the one-handed catches. I know that all the kids want to do that right now because it looks tight, but good Lord, I cannot stand it. And I'm sure Hines Ward was on his ass this week. Right after Sunday, I'm sure he's going through the film and going like, dude, this is not going to get you where you want to go. Two-handed catches, touchdowns is going to get you where you want to go. And look, the kid's obviously a stellar receiver. He's a stud football player. But man, oh man, talk about a piece of humble pie served by the Utes. It was an ass beating. Honestly, this game for ASU reminded me of like being in college, taking a test and performing so poorly on that test compared to the rest of your year that the teacher goes like, dude, what were you doing here? Let's just throw this test out. This one is horrible. We're going to just drop this test. And, oh, look it, now you have an A- instead of a C. That's how it felt. I mean, it was like ASU's entire football team went out to a sorority party. I felt a thigh and didn't get home till 4 a.m. and then decided to, drink a glass of water before going to bed and then waking up and playing. It was horrendous. All that to say, wow, I'm glad we got that one out of the way. That was not the game that we thought we were going to have. Last week I discussed maybe we'd see ASU's, put a game together. And then Leavitt just decides, I'm going to go out and blow my ankle doing God knows what. We're going to move on from that. So yeah, obviously just rough game for all of us Arizona State fans. But we have a chance to totally redeem ourselves with Texas Tech this weekend. And would it not be so ASU, Joey, for ASU to beat Texas Tech this weekend?
Typical. This is what we do, those banner wins that come right before or after those just brutal losses. I think back to Oregon State when we were number 6 in the first ever CFP rankings. A lot of people online this weekend were talking about how this game in Utah felt like Oregon State, where we had the big wins, couple of wins, great first season or second season with Todd Graham, got that ranking and then shit the bed.
Don't remind me, by the way.
I know, right? Were you there for that? And then
yeah, I've only told it to my therapist 25 times.
Just turn the tide this week. I mean, we didn't see a game. We didn't think we'd see a game on the schedule where if we played our worst and the other team played their best, we'd get beaten this bad. Now, we didn't expect to not have Sam Leavitt at any of these games, but even if you said take Sam Leavitt out of every game on our schedule, I don't think going into this year we thought we'd see a team that could beat us that bad. And now it appears the best team on our schedule, we still are yet to play with Sam Leavitt's status up in the air. But because of all that, confusion and stuff up in the air, it would be totally ASU to come through Notre Dame-esque, a lot of these big home wins over the last 10 years. And
yep.
The voters have to be like, what is this team? We don't understand.
Here's the psychology of a loss like that. Clearly that team was not excited to play football. It was pouring rain, which I hate that mentality of and this is really to me, it's probably one of Kenny's worst losses. I kind of throw out the first season of his coaching career just because, it's tough to win games. But for the team to come off of a bye week, no less, and be that underprepared to play. Now I get it. You get news that your quarterback's out and the team might not be, feeling it. But I mean, this is football, man. It ain't easy. You got to be tough to play football. And the team just did not look ready to play. They did not look tough. Coming off of a bye week, your quarterback was healthy. Now he's not. Just such a weird vibe and something I'm hoping, like I mentioned, we can just drop. We can just move on from. So I all that to say, moving forward, we'll dive into the Texas Tech game, but good Lord, it was not a great weekend for ASU.
Wait, but I have a question about that. If you go back to the Utah game or even forward, because we don't know what's going to happen with Sam Leavitt. And does the mindset change, especially you being on defense, if the signal caller, the most important position is in sports, your starting quarterback who leads you goes down, or he's not going to start that day? Do you feel like you have to try harder? Do you think in the back of your mind you're going to be on defense for more period of time? Do you just do everything the same? You see these guys in practice. You basically live with these guys all year round, and so you probably have to have some confidence in the backup quarterback. What changes with a guy like you in your position when there's a backup playing?
That's a good question. I mean, for somebody like myself playing safety, it didn't really affect me, right? It's a next man up mentality, and I think we were fortunate when I was at ASU to have Mike Bercovici, who was a stud. And like you expect ASU to have a great backup quarterback. Like, how do we not have a quarterback that can't even complete? I mean, he's sailing balls 20, 30 yards out of bounds over receiver. It was so disgusting to watch. And disgusting is a strong word. I get it. And, I love ASU. Let me say that. I love ASU's football program, but God dang, it was tough to watch Jeff Sims throw a football. And the weather was terrible. I get it. But you have a guy like Mike Bercovici come in after Taylor Kelly gets hurt and goes off. He's a great quarterback. He's a college football quarterback. He was a Pac-12 quarterback. That's the type of level of quarterback that you expect. And ASU just doesn't have a quarterback better than Jeff Sims. So it's got to be next man up mentality. It's, that's just the way it has to be. You have to focus on your job. You're 1 of 11. And if you don't do your job right, it can be a touchdown. And clearly ASU was just not ready to play. They were not ready to play that game. They were out coached. They were out physicaled. And the thing going into that Utah game that we knew was you have to be ready to play a physical game. And they just played right into Utah's hand. I mean, they ran the ball with Devin Dampier, scored several times. It just didn't look good from the beginning. And I just don't know how ASU doesn't have a better backup quarterback for Sam Leavitt. I get it. It's tough to get a quarterback to want to come there because Sam Leavitt is a first rounder and you're not going to play over him. But still, you got a chance to learn behind one of the best quarterbacks in the country, score a lot of points. So tough deal.
It begs the question. There may not be 200 plus great or above average college football quarterbacks to choose from. This is big business. It's billion-dollar business now. And, you want to put a whole team on the field that is going to be competitive with NIL, but you got to have, 15 D linemen and 12 corners. And it's kind of amazing when you think about a drop off from one quarterback to another. And they're just, even with all the NIL money, there may not be, all those guys want to start, there may not be, 100 and 150 great quarterbacks to choose from. The drop off was kind of stark to me.
Yeah. And it's always tough. Like, you have these transfer quarterbacks, but they've left a place for a reason. They're not, a very small percentage of the time they've left because they're going to a better school. It's usually they're leaving because they're not playing somewhere. And because the coach screwed me, or I'm not getting a chance, or whatever it is. So, it's a bummer, but hopefully Sam's back this week, and we'll dive into that. We'll dive into the Texas Tech preview. Joe, you got one more thought here?
Yeah, just I can save it if I want, but I got a quote from Kenny from practice today. So
yeah, let her rip.
Let's do it. So he was asked about just an update on Sam and how he looked today. He said, "I think we're going to have a conversation here today or tomorrow morning in terms of what that looks like, in terms of if he's playing. I thought he moved around pretty good today. He moved in the pocket a little bit today. Last week, he never left the pocket, so we didn't really know. Today, he moved around in the pocket, which was positive, so he looked more like himself."
All right. Hopefully that means good things. I mean, I was just excited that he was practicing. Maybe, and we can dive into this before we get into the Texas Tech, but my theory on the whole Leavitt deal is coming true. We'll talk about that here shortly, but I want to talk about the college football picks from this weekend. I did okay, not great. I think I went 1-2. Yeah, I went 1-2. That's not good at all. That's a fail. I failed. All right, the recap: Ohio State versus Illinois, -14.5. That one, I'm proud of that one. That line just, Illinois is not, they're not the real deal. Ohio State's the real deal. Indiana beat the hell out of Illinois. I was like, you know what, Ohio State should do this too, and they did. The other game that blew my mind is Indiana beating Oregon at Autzen Stadium. I can't even fathom an Indiana team going to Oregon and beating Dan Lanning's Oregon team. And that's exactly what Curt Cignetti did, who is an absolute dog, by the way. I mean, this guy just wins everywhere he goes. Everywhere he goes, he wins championships, which begs the question. That Penn State job came open. Joey, I know we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about it, but Cignetti's got to be one of those guys that Penn State's going, we're going to throw a bag at your feet because we know all you do is win. And I think it makes a ton of sense. Can you win a championship at Indiana if you're Curt Cignetti? Maybe. I mean, he's showing that he's putting a championship-style football team together. But in that conference, are you going to beat Ohio State with players going to Indiana? I don't think so.
Probably not long-term.
Yeah, very, very impressive win for Indiana. I mean, they beat Oregon in every phase of that football game. They looked the part. Their quarterback's legit. And I got to imagine this will be one of those things for Oregon it's a good timed loss for them. If you're going to lose, that's the type of loss you want to take is one right off the chin at home that forces you to get back to basics, self-scout, and do the things that make you great. So I know that Dan Lanning will have his boys ready to roll. And it's a tough slate, right? It's a tough slate in the Big Ten. But I know Lanning will have those boys excited and ready to roll. The last game I talked about was Oklahoma and Texas. Oklahoma lost to Texas. Mateer played even with his injury. And Arch finally got himself a big boy win. Good job, Arch Manning. Finally got himself a win. Get that monkey off his back. And Texas needed a win so bad. I mean, Sark needed a win so bad. I mean, they've completely underperformed this year. Definitely not going to get them ranked again. I don't think I've seen them be ranked. But my record 1-2 on the week, which brings me to 5-5. Not great, not good, dead even. What a loser. Joey, field versus yield. Give me a little idea of what's going on here in the sports biz world.
Yeah, it's perfect timing too, because we were just talking about Penn State, their expectations, how angry their fans are, the almost $50 million buyout for James Franklin, but that's not actually
insane.
What I want to talk about. However, if you're looking for topics in the offseason when there's no college football going on, you and I could probably go a couple hours on talking about how crazy these buyouts are. If you think about it, I don't know why these agents can bend the ADs over the barrel at times. I know, it's all about negotiation. But what I want to talk about for field versus yield today is basically that with Penn State's demise, their fall this year from grace, not just with the UCLA loss, but the nail in the coffin with losing to Northwestern, is the casinos and the sports books are doing handstands, cartwheels. They're already celebrating. We're not even to conference championship season yet. 8.9% of all bets on the college football title at BetMGM are on Penn State. Only Ohio State has more, but even with the exposure they have on Ohio State, almost 10% of the bets are going to lose. I mean, they haven't lost yet. They don't have to, but they won't have to pay out on them because we know they're not getting to the CFP. 7.7% of all the money at every sports books is on Penn State. Only Ohio State and Texas have more, and we don't think Texas is going to get back to the CFP unless something miraculous happens. So that's just a big win for the casino. That's what I wanted to bring up today. It's big business to have some of these teams that have a great following and high expectations fall off.
It is crazy to think about where Penn State was a couple weeks ago against Oregon with College Game Day there, the whiteout game. They go to overtime, they lose, and then they lose to UCLA and they lose to Northwestern, and he's fired. They were one play away from potentially beating Oregon in the biggest game in Penn State, for the year. And fast forward a couple weeks, it is incredible what can happen in the college football world. And I don't like this fire, honestly. He's been there forever, right? He's been there 10 plus seasons. He's a lifer Penn State guy. I know all the players that have played for him loved him. All the coaches, that work for him love him. Just seems like a great human being. But how are you going to do better? How are you going to do better than that guy at Penn State? I don't know. Is Curt Cignetti better than Franklin? I don't know. I think you can make an argument both ways. Only time will tell, but It is just crazy what's happened in a few short weeks in college football, people getting fired. So that'll take me to the games for this weekend. Thank you for that, Joey. The games this weekend, we got another nice slate matchup of games here. First one I want to talk about is number 5, Ole Miss, at number 9, Georgia. Now, Georgia is favored by 7.5 in this game, and this line is so smelly. It's 7.5 versus an Ole Miss team. Now, I'm thinking that the people that make these lines, I'm thinking Vegas watched Ole Miss play Washington State last week at home and went, this team sucks. I mean, a team from Pullman, Washington came in to Ole Miss and SEC country and took them down to the wire and almost beat them as 33.5-point dogs. I am not trusting Ole Miss. Here's my opinion. Ole Miss is looking ahead to this Georgia game this weekend. They know that they have a chance to be on College Game Day. They know that this is a potential SEC championship type game, biggest game on their schedule, and they have to play Washington State, the Cougars. They've probably never even heard of Pullman, Washington. They could even point on a map where Washington State is, all these people on the Southeast Conference. And sure enough, the Cougs showed up and started whooping some ass and made a little noise and almost stole one from Ole Miss, which would have been an absolute backbreaker for Ole Miss. But figured it out, got it done, and now they're going to the game that's all been on their mind. They've been ready to play Georgia. They're excited to play Georgia. That's the one that they've been thinking about. And you already have heard a little bit of chatter back and forth from the coaches. I don't know if you heard Kiffin talking about how Kirby Smart's put on a few pounds. That was a pretty good little clip. Eventually, we'll be able to get clips on the show. That'd be nice. If I had a producer that could do something, as my producer is off screen, there he is. Giving him some shit. So I'm going to be honest. I like Ole Miss in this game. I know that they just laid an egg against Washington State, got the win, but I truly believe they were just excited and ready for Georgia. So 7.5 points. I'm going to take the 7.5 all day long, and I wouldn't be surprised if they won outright. All right, next game.
Between the hedges line, let me just say, too, I think that they're just giving Georgia a little bit more gas.
Of course. Yeah, and Georgia's a great football team. I'm not going to take anything away from them, but this 7.5 points is, like Ole Miss can score. And Georgia's shown that they give up points. When they played Tennessee, they gave up a lot of points. So I'm thinking that Ole Miss will be able to hang with these guys and score some points. Probably not be able to stop them on offense. So I don't know what the line is on the over, but it's probably 60, I would imagine. There's going to be a lot of points in this game. Next game, I want to talk about Tennessee at Alabama. Bama is favored by 7.5 in this game as well. I'll take Tennessee to cover. Again, I think Tennessee can score with the best of them. I think that, Bama can score. Their quarterback looks legit. They've got it rolling down there finally. But I think Tennessee can score, and therefore I'll take the 7.5. And, they're playing at Bama. So it's going to be a shootout type game to me. And this is a game that I think Tennessee could win as well. I think Kalen DeBoer has shown that, they're capable of losing any game, but they're capable of winning any game. He somehow figures out how to beat Georgia. But I think Bama's very beatable, and a team like Tennessee can go in there and get the job done. All right, last game I want to talk about. So I'm taking I'm taking Tennessee getting the points, and I'm taking Ole Miss getting the points. Both getting 7.5. It's a lot of points for these top-ranked SEC teams. Last game I want to talk about before we dive into the Texas Tech preview this weekend for ASU is Utah, number 23 Utah versus number 15 BYU in Provo. Look, this is always a fun rivalry, and I don't know, as a fan, these are, two great games to travel to as, go to Provo and go to Salt Lake City. Just beautiful, picturesque campuses with, like a great backdrop and these really cool mountains, but I always loved going there. Big noon kickoff will be there. It's going to be really funny to follow Barstool Prez on this trip, going to Provo. I'm sure he'll have a ton of jokes, and it'll be great TV. I'll probably be watching College Game Day anyway, just because Pat McAfee is just too good not to. BYU is getting 3.5 from Utah. Utah's favored by 3.5 in this game, which is so smelly to me as well. Like Utah. Did they Vegas just watch the ass beating that they handed ASU and went, wow, Utah's a lot better than we thought they were. Devin Dampier looks healthy. I think they could beat anybody. Have they not watched BYU? I mean, BYU is a good football team. They're physical. Bear Bachmeier doesn't he wear 47?
47.
Yeah, he wears number 47, which is just insane. So I like BYU at home getting 3.5. There's, like home dogs are always tough to beat to me. That place is going to be rocking. The soda pop will be flowing. The student section is going to be caffeinated. They're going to be ready to roll. I mean, hit the automatic refill on your Diet Dr. Pepper. I mean, get your popcorn ready because the Holy War, it's about to go down. I'll take BYU getting 3.5 at home all day long. All right, Artie, lock them in. I got BYU getting 3.5, Tennessee getting 7.5, and Ole Miss getting 7.5. I'm taking all the dogs this weekend. I like it. All right, let's dive into this Texas Tech preview. Was my theory correct on Sam Leavitt for Texas Tech? Hold him against Utah. He probably could have played. Could he have played? I don't know. He was wearing a boot. Maybe he could have played against Utah if they really needed him to. But again, they were 2-2 in Big 12 play after Week 7 last year. They lost to Texas Tech. They beat Kansas, beat Utah, and then lost to Cincy without Leavitt. We're kind of in that same spot. We're in that same jumping off spot. The tone and the feeling from ASU fans is that we've completely failed. This year is over. That's the feeling that I get, but it's not. Just stick with me here. We're 2-1 in Big 12 play. If you beat Texas Tech, you're right back in the mix. And Texas Tech is a good football team. They're a really good football team. They've got $28 million in NIL behind them. And it's all from one booster who made a bajillion dollars in oil. So this is an oil money football team. They've got all the money in the trenches. They're loaded, but they're battling the injury bug as well. Now, ASU lost Ben Coleman, starting offensive lineman. They lost a starting linebacker. Leavitt was hurt. I mean, they're banged up, and it sucks, but it's part of football. We talked about this earlier. It's next man up mentality. So, dude, look at this is classic ASU right here. Lose to Utah by 30 plus, and then go take the number 7 team in the country down to the wire at 1 p.m. on Fox. It's just so classic. And if Leavitt's healthy, we're at home, we could beat anybody. That place is going to be rocking. And if we beat Texas Tech, then everybody looks at that loss up in Utah as whatever, it happened. But you kind of control your own destiny at that point. You beat Texas Tech, you beat Houston, you beat Iowa State. You're right in the mix, and then you just hope that a couple other teams catch a few bruises on the way through the rest of the year. The other thing about Texas Tech is that I want to talk about is, like, if you look at their schedule, they played Ark Pine Bluff week 1. They blew them out. Then they played Kent State. Then they played Oregon State. Those are 3 horrible football teams. Then they play Utah, who, as we know, is good. And then they played Houston, who's decent. And then they played Kansas, who's decent. Their opponents' records are combined 19-19. So it's not very impressive. Now, Oregon State is obviously 0-7, so that's pretty heavily favored towards the loss column. But I'm not saying that they haven't played good football teams. They just haven't played a great football team. Utah is not great in my opinion. The Big 12, there's so much parity from Baylor to TCU, even ASU, Utah, Kansas, Houston. I mean, there's so many teams that are all pretty good. Texas Tech is clearly the favorite in the Big 12. They've looked the best. They've looked the part. They've got the money, and they've used it, and they've built up those trenches, because I think that's what Joey McGuire realizes. If you have a team that can stop the run and run the football, it doesn't matter what happens at your quarterback position, you can win. By the way, Joey McGuire is so sick. Old school Texas high school football, just a dog. Love listening to him talk with that accent. Fun fact, I actually met him at a Texas High School Football Association meeting when he was a high school coach. Great guy. Had a great experience. So happy for the success that they're having, but he's coming to Tempe this week. And these boys are going to be ready to play. I think that these guys are going to be ready to roll. It's going to be a physical game, one that I think ASU has a chance to, like if they get down early to this team, there ain't going to be no coming back. So you got to start fast, finish. Leavitt's got to be able to use his legs. And look, it ain't going to be easy. Texas Tech has the number 1 offense and defense in the Big 12. And this is going to be ASU's toughest test. They clearly were not ready to play against Utah. So I don't even count that as like them. They didn't show up. Their team did not play in that game. This is the real opportunity to show yourself to the country. If you go out and lay an egg against Texas Tech, the rest of the year is going to be tough. It's going to be tough sledding. But if you go out and compete and get a chance to win against Texas Tech, you're going to prove a lot of people in that stadium right that have been having everyone's back on that team and that coaching staff. And this is a huge game for Marcus Arroyo, in my opinion. He has to coach his ass off. He's got to get the ball to his players that are special. And if Leavitt's healthy, they got a chance. That defense has got to swarm the football. They've got to tackle, which we know they can do. We've seen it because Texas Tech is going to come in here and try to whoop some ass. They know that this is the team they got to knock off more than anybody. This is the team that won it last year. They got to be excited. They beat ASU last year. So I hope ASU remembers, hey, this Texas Tech team is pretty good. No tortillas will be thrown at ASU. We will not allow that. You will be shot on sight. Just kidding. But that's my overall feel for this game. Look, I think ASU can win this game. I don't know what the line's at, Joey. I don't know if you know what that line's at. That would be interesting to see. I haven't even looked at it.
Well, I don't blame you very much because it's swung like 5 points already since when it came out. So let me just pull it up.
And then we'll dive into some questions from X here. It's still weird to me to call it X.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
So I'm seeing it's up to 11.5 points.
Holy cow. What did it start
There
at?
are different books. What did it open? Did it open at 5.5?
I don't know. Probably.
Yeah,
That sounds right.
We were just talking about taking ASU plus 10 the other night, or plus 9.5 or whatever it was. So it's just the variance is kind of a wild swing.
All right, let's dive into some questions from X. I've got it pulled up, Joey. I'll just start ripping them off here.
Sweet. I'm gonna have a job if you do that yourself.
Do you already have it up?
I'm ready to go.
Okay, hit me with a few. I don't have much time here. We're gonna start losing people, so let's hit me with some good ones.
Devils. If we have to go with Sims again at QB, do you think Coach Dillingham will at least modify the offense to fit more of his strengths? That's from Win One for Drew.
Good God, I hope so. I mean, I would rather see Raleek Brown play quarterback than Jeff Sims. I think that somebody else could complete passes. Do we have a walk-on quarterback? Who plays scout team? Let's give the scout team guy a chance. I mean, at least the guy could probably complete an out route and not sail the ball 35 yards overhead. But I mean, if Sims plays, you're running quarterback power and you're running the football. You got no other choice. Throw a little screen passes and that's it.
So with that, John wants to know, at this point in time, right now, what's the most likely outcome for Sam Leavitt that you see next year? 1, go to the NFL. 2, stay at ASU. Or 3, I don't even want to read this one, but a transfer situation.
Well, he's definitely not going to transfer. He's got too good of a relationship with Kenny. I think Sam needs to stay another year. I think he needs another year in college football with Kenny, with these coaches to he's clearly been humbled this season. He hasn't performed as everybody thought he would. He's had some good games. He's had some great plays, and he's got, one of the best receivers in the country to throw to. But to me, it just looks like, you look at some of these quarterbacks that everybody had high potential draft picks, whether it's Arch Manning or him, and these guys need time. They're young kids. They need time to develop and learn to deal with, some of the fame that they're dealing with. And so I think that he needs to come back another year, barring anything insane like a run. If they go on some crazy run and he starts throwing, 85% completion percentage and throwing 3 touchdowns a game.
Okay. Last one here. If you could make one change to the program, what would it be? What would you do different? Not saying Kenny is doing anything wrong, just want your opinion. That is from the Great Dane.
Oh, man. If I could change one thing about this program?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I love the job that Kenny's doing. I think he's doing a great job. Gosh, I would love to see them just juice up the O&D line. I would love to see them just attack the NIL portal and transfer portal like Texas Tech has. Put the money in the trenches, because you can find great athletes all over the place. You can find guys that can catch and run, but it's hard to find guys that are big and athletic that can block. So I would love to see them just juice up the trenches. 2 more questions here. I know I said I was going to answer them all. I fully lied because I do have to jump on a work meeting. Unfortunately, I do have a full-time job. Not unfortunately,
Guys,
very
if you
fortunately.
want to sponsor the pod, he won't have to have another job.
I know. If we can get somebody to give us $2 million in sponsorship money immediately, that would be incredible. Fanatics, FanDuel, DraftKings, anybody. Spit it out in the ether.
I don't know who sent this one, and I'll try to find it.
Not
But
going on
someone
the boat.
wanted your
Derek's
thoughts
selling the
on
house.
6,
We have to
7.
go to therapy?
Just want to listen to this again.
What the fuck?
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Planet bullshit. Someone wants to know your thoughts on 6, 7. I almost didn't read that because I was worried that you wouldn't know what it is.
I don't know what that is. No, I know I've seen that people have been talking about this. It's like kids talk about it, right? This is like some kid slang term. Is this correct?
Yeah. I
have no idea.
Jordan and I have young kids. We're wearing our dad shoes. We're changing diapers. We're starting to get in that era where you can't just bark out some sort of pop culture, trend, and we automatically know what it is. I'm not even on TikTok. I feel like that's where a lot of this stuff comes from now.
No idea.
Man, there's some funny ones for our last one, but I don't know how badly we want to keep going at Burko every week because we want to get him on, and he's our buddy. And but someone wanted to know, in a good old fashioned fist fight, a melee, a brawl with every ASU quarterback, which one would knock out Burko the fastest, and which one would Burko knock out the fastest?
Oh man, I'm gonna say Burko would knock out Trenton Bourguet pretty quick. I got to look at pure size here, and I'm not saying that Bourguet wouldn't give him a fight because that guy's a fighter. Just look at his whole career. But that's probably who I would target as the best fight opportunity for Mike. And then you think about a dude like Osweiler, who's just a big dude. He's all of 6'7". I mean, he's clearly going to have the advantage from a reach standpoint, but Michael Eubanks, I remember having to tackle that dude. That's a big dude right there. I used to tackle him on scout team quite a bit in 2013.
I wouldn't want to scrap with Rudy Carpenter.
Rudy's probably got a little dog in him, so I'd probably pick
Rudy.
Yeah, I'd probably pick Rudy or Brock. I mean, but they both love Mike, so they would never fight him. But I would knock out Mike the quickest, though.
That's
easily.
The thing. The only person I know who'd ever want to punch Mike for any reason is you, because you guys are so close. It's like a brother relationship.
Yeah, I just put one right in his suck hole, and then I'd knock out DJ too, and I'll hope to have them both on the show here soon. Dude, I know I said we were going to get to all the questions. I didn't anticipate having to jump off because of a work meeting, but I appreciate everybody tuning in to this week's Jordan Simone show. I told you it was going to get better and better. I do have a microphone this week, and I think it sounds good. Joey, but I appreciate everybody tuning in this week. We love you. Go Devils. Let's go beat Texas Tech.
Devils.
Shock the world. Why wouldn't we?
World, baby.
Let's shock the world. Stick your $28 million where the sun don't shine. We got $2 million. We got NIL. Thanks, guys.